Hello, everyone, and welcome back to either the MyFootballWriter YouTube channel or the MyFootballWriter Spotify channel, whichever way you are choosing to either watch or listen to the newest instalment of the MFW podcast, proudly brought to you by our sponsors, the Fat Cat and Canary Pub. I'm Freddie Humphrey Wakefield, and I am joined by Jack Wright and Henry Miller for this week's Norwich City Mardle. But before we dive into what was actually a very, very good week for Norwich City on the pitch, let's see how these two boys are doing, because that's what matters more. It's all about how you're all doing and what's been going on in personal lives. You know, that's the most important thing in life.
Yeah, all good, thank you. Those with a keen taste for travel news may have heard me this morning deliver the travel news on BBC Radio Norfolk on the breakfast show, doing that for the whole week, which is really fun. And otherwise just keeping on and celebrating the good form that Norwich are on.
God bless the A140. Keeps us at arm's length from them lot. How am I? I'm all right. You might sort of hear in my voice that I'm ever so slightly croaky. I'm not sure why. Freddie might be able to tell me why. It might just be because we've got Super Liam Manning. He knows exactly what we need. Darling at the back, Sargent in attack. So he's going to the Premier League. Apparently, according to the chant and various other charts, apparently Portsmouth is not as good as Great Yarmouth. Having been, I'd agree probably. You know, there's no snails. There's a subpar Tesco. That's about it. But Frederick, how's your week been? You obviously saw me twice, so you know it's been fantastic. Surely.
No, I couldn't believe it. No, you actually left your house. I was quite amazed. No, it was amazing. The week. Well, it was great. I had a week off work before starting a new job. Started that today, so that's always nice, you know, to have a change up of environment. I haven't got to put clothes away in a Primark anymore, so we'll take that any day. But no, the Norwich related side of it, of course, fantastic, as we will get onto very shortly. Now it's two 2-1 wins, and they were both very, very similar in how they went down. But no, outside of the football, technically still related to the football. Yeah, Tuesday night. That weren't very fun. Ended up stranded in the middle of London. I think it was Harrow and Wealdstone Station. Sat in an Uber for 2 hours. Had to get back to Brighton. 70 quid later. So we had to firm that one and move on and take it on the chin.
Then again, 70 quid for 2 hours. I don't actually think that's that bad at all.
No, it wasn't. No, to be fair, I got lucky. Given the distance as well, I think it was like a 50-odd mile drive. I remember the driver said to me, that's the furthest I've ever driven as an Uber driver. I thought, well, of course it is, mate. You know, you're not used to it. I was amazed he even took the drive. You know, I'm a very lucky boy that I'm actually sat here. No, I'm very, very lucky. But anyway, let's talk about maybe how Norwich got a little bit lucky in those performances. But they won twice away from home in a week. They don't do that. When have they done that ever in the last 2 years? Norwich winning away, that's like winning the lottery. You know, it can happen. It can certainly happen. You can pray for it, but the chances of it, it's not very likely. But no, Norwich hit the jackpot twice in a week against two championship teams, one against Watford in the Carabao Cup and then Portsmouth on Saturday afternoon. You can watch the matchday experiences of those videos after you've done listening to this or watching it. So just go back onto the YouTube channel, go and watch them. That's only 20 minutes combined. I'm sure you'll love them. It's got me and Jack in it, and it's got an absolutely bladdered Will Grant in it. No, it makes great viewing. But most importantly, you know, not only just Norwich winning twice away from home in a week, Norwich are up and running in the league. They're actually above them lot, which is always nice. Didn't take long, did it? Only took 2 matches. But no, it's always nice. And life has kick-started under Liam Manning now, really, not only just overall, but in the league as well. And as Jack already alluded to, the chant from Norwich fans at Fratton Park in that absolutely raucous away end was that they believe that this team may be headed to the Premier League. Of course, there is still so many games to go. There's another 44 league matches, but it's so important, isn't it, that Norwich got off to a good start, of course, after that debacle against Millwall at Carrow Road, but 2 wins away from home in a week, and there was so many promising signs, but as we'll get onto in a second as well, there were a few negative ones as well, weren't there? There's work to do, but they've started off in good stead. 3 matches played, 2 wins. Can't complain.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Freddie. I think there's definitely work to do. I think especially in that Watford game, when Watford scored, I think all the Norwich fans were thinking, okay, well, this is going to go to penalties now, or even worse. But the fact that we did show that resiliency to hold on, and again against Portsmouth as well, albeit we were probably more comfortable against Portsmouth, the fact that we won both of those games, I think really does show the character in this squad. There are a lot of question marks about Jakov Medic against Millwall. I think he was probably one of our better performances against Portsmouth. So, he's really improved, which is nice to see. But I guess the narrative's sort of similar to what we were saying at that Millwall game. When we lost, it was like, okay, well, there's 45 league games still to go. It's the same here against Portsmouth. There's still a hell of a lot of football to be played. So we can't get too carried away. But winning away at Portsmouth, a place where we played anti-football last season and stunk the place out with a 0-0 draw with Ashley Barnes up top, you do have to celebrate it. And it was a good day at the office, as both of you can vouch for.
I definitely can vouch for that. That was not only a good Saturday, but also a very good week in its entirety. I do just want to reiterate again what Freddie emphasised. Norwich City won 2 away games within a week, and I saw them both. This just doesn't happen to me. My away record is absolutely abysmal, and looking back on the 2, it is actually so bizarre how similar they were. Like 2 early goals, comfortable, didn't push on for a third, didn't attack in the slightest in the second half, conceded a silly goal to make it nervy. The Portsmouth game, I can tell you, was a lot more nervy. Poor Frederick had sweat from his head to his toes, like not even like metaphorical, like physical. He was going through the ringer, bless him. We all were, obviously concede the penalty. We'll go on to, Big Vlad very shortly, but then to have another penalty decision whereby there's a tackle in the box, Portsmouth defender goes down, referee blows his whistle. Oh my word, my bottom fell through the floor. It was the realization that it was then a dive and a yellow card and a free kick our way. That was a relief. But just so bizarre to have 2, fixtures and 2 results that are exactly the same. But again, you're really just kind of at this point in the season looking for positives. There's nothing to really kind of, say that, we're going to be fantastic. I think it's just a sense of, are we going to improve on the opening day loss to Millwall? I think, like you said, Jakov Medic was much better. I said this in my written piece that I did for MFW, that Harry Darling looks like he's been playing for Norwich for about 10 years as opposed to 3 matches. I don't know why. He fits. And it's not even that he scored a goal and, created a brilliant goal from a long throw. He just looks comfortable. That's really encouraging. But again, if you would have seen the match day experiences, the thing that I banged on about constantly was our brilliance for about an hour and then just switching off. And that's now 3 games in a row this season so far, where it's, 10 out of 10s for 60 minutes and then 2 out of 10s for the remainder. And I think really what you've got to look at is this simply just a case of match fitness in an early season? Is it sort of just the players getting used to it and just, finding their level, or is this something tactical? Is this actually, a Manning approach where he's basically saying to them, look, go full pelt that first half and that first bit of the second half. Go absolutely hell for leather. And then just, don't worry about it. Just sit back. It's fine. We'll sort it out. We don't really have a plan. And I think that's the kind of question mark. And I think that's what will be really fascinating against Middlesbrough, is whether we will manage the game beyond the hour mark, or, if it will be exactly the same, because that is quite worrying. That is an Achilles heel. And again, if you're a Championship manager, you're looking at this pattern and you're thinking, right, I know how to beat this Norwich City team. So we'll see. But yes, two fantastic away days that I will cherish. I'm never going to an away day again. I don't see the reason. I don't want to curse it. I'm on a high, and I'll live with this.
No, it's fair enough. But to counteract that, Norwich have a 100% win record away from home when you've been this season. And it's the same for me. So, no, I'll gladly take it. But I think the points in which you raised there about Norwich is sort of almost inevitable capitulation over these last two matches, really, against Watford and Portsmouth. I was actually going to ask the question as to, well, why do you think that is? What exactly is it? Well, Jack, you listed nearly every single reason that I think anyone could think of. But to really pin it down to one, I'll ask you this as well, Henry. Why do you think that is? Why is it that on the hour mark, this team just can't seem to then carry on what they've been doing in matches, and they drop a few levels? It does seem quite bizarre how stark a contrast it is from Norwich City's first half performances to their second half ones in three matches, especially in a row. It seems as if is there really something there that we're not seeing, or is it just a simple issue maybe that Jack brought up? But what do the pair of you think exactly could be the key reason?
Yeah, so it's a difficult one, isn't it? I think Norwich haven't really been in a position, other than when Macaulay Langstaff scored, that they've really chased the lead. I know when Millwall took the lead initially in that opening day, Norwich equalised within 5 minutes, and then maybe because they've got Carrow Road behind them, they were thinking, well, we can go on and win this, and again they switched off. Against Portsmouth, they were probably lucky to hold on to that, and against Watford as well, it was a really nervy game. So maybe there is a bit of complacency in there. In terms of Liam Manning, I very much doubt he would be saying, okay, go hell for leather in the first 30 minutes, say, for example. To me, he seems like a bit of a pragmatic manager, which is what we need, whilst also being defensively secure. But no, don't get me wrong, Norwich's character has been brilliant the last couple of weeks to actually see out those results. Because I'm pretty sure we can all agree, if that was last season, that would have been either a draw and a defeat, or two defeats maybe even. So the fact that we have got that character to then hold on to those results, I think should be positive. But yeah, I don't know what it is. It would be nice to see Norwich perform consistently and be consistently the better side throughout the whole 90 minutes. But I just want to pick up on a point that Jack made there as well about the away wins, and you two were both saying that games you've been to, Norwich have a 100% winning record. Well, I found out today that Johannes Torup, he won 4 games away from home as Norwich City manager between August and April. Liam Manning's done 2 in 2 weeks.
Well, 2 in 4 days.
He's
got half his record in the space of 4 days.
Johannes, if you're watching,
why? First question, why?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's I love that stat. That's fantastic. I mean, let's hope that Liam wins a few more, especially one in October. That'd be nice. But yeah, in terms of the performance exactly, I think you've got to kind of look at what exactly the differences were between like the first half and the second half. Definitely in the first half, it was a case of us being very controlled on the ball and very comfortable on the ball, and being very clever with our decision making, and just looking very chill. And I think in the second half, I think where in both games, where both Watford and then Portsmouth stepped up their game and put a bit more pressure on us, we then, were making loose passes, making, rash challenges, not, getting to the ball as quickly. And I think, with both performances from the opposition, you have to say in the first half, they were both pretty bad. I mean, Watford fans and Portsmouth fans, I've heard their reactions and saying, look, those were some of the worst first halves of football that they've watched. But, if we did still play very, very well. I think the other main aspect of both games is the substitutions of our star quality attacking players. In both matches, Sargent and Diaro went off. We will get on to Diallo. Don't worry. We'll wax lyrical about him. This isn't the last you hear about him. But we take him off because he's exhausted. At Portsmouth, bless him, he was lying on the floor and I thought he'd literally died. He was that exhausted. So yes, him and Sargent go off. I can't remember who replaced them. But I think it might have been Schwartau. And I think it might have been Schlupp, possibly. But, there is now, from those two games, like a gulf in quality of those two players. And I think, yes, we've had a summer of, a lot of recruits coming in, but there's still a feeling of a lack of strength and depth, oddly enough. We've spoken about our squad actually being quite inflated and players needing to leave. That's possibly why, we're struggling later in the game, because there just isn't the quality to match. Obviously, the quality to match Josh Sargent is almost impossible, but not to predict the entire rest of the season, but I think that's where we will differ, in comparison to someone like a Sheffield United or a Southampton, that if one good player is a bit tired and wants to come off, they'll bring on a really good player to replace them. With us, our really good players will come off and we'll put Liam Gibbs at right wing like we did at Watford. And I'm scratching my head thinking, huh? What? I don't get that. Makama, when he came on at Watford, I like him. I like him a lot. I'd like him to pick me up and give me a little cuddle like that. He definitely could. I don't know if he's related to Gary Barlow's son. He might be a cousin. But classic internet reference. Oh yeah. But yeah. The quality of the substitutes, I think, is kind of a question mark, and ultimately that is probably something for Manning to work on. But again, if we can just stop shooting ourselves in the foot and stop torturing us for like the last bit of the game, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, Makama, he's a big old boy. That he certainly is. Honestly, I must have said at least every 2 minutes, just looking at him, that I was in awe of how big he is. He's an absolute behemoth. He is just has to be at least 6'5". He's like Peter Crouch, but bigger. Not taller, but a bit more strength in him. But no, he's a big old
You're
boy.
lost for words, Freddie.
What's that? What'd you say?
You're lost for words.
No, I actually am. He stunned me, and he still does. I'm getting a bit flabbergasted thinking about Mr. Makama. But anyway, we'll move on to the star men, really, of the last sort of week for Norwich City, and we'll begin right at the back. And Vladan Kovacevic, the man who Jack said gives him a fetish, I think, or something along those lines. I think he gave me a fetish with that penalty save. No, I think I felt quite giddy when he saved that penalty, and his amazing save to deny, I can't remember the Portsmouth player who he denied
Colby
from.
Bishop.
There we go. Well, the penalty was
Bishop
Colby Bishop.
And it was, who did he make that save on the line? That's a good question. Someone. I can't remember. It might have been John Swift. I don't know.
No, it was someone wearing a blue shirt, but no, it was an unbelievable stop from all of 4 yards. But Jack, you said it in the matchday experience after the game that was, you felt, Kovacevic's moment, really, and saw a brilliant statistic courtesy of NCFC numbers. The third goalkeeper for Norwich to save a penalty within their first 10 appearances for the club. I think it was him, and it was either John Ruddy or Mark Bunn who had both saved a penalty on their second appearance for the club. So that's really quite something, really. That's just amazing. But no, in a great performance from him overall, commanded his area really well. And, he praised the goalkeeper coach, as he called him, Goalkeeper Tony. So no, he was really, really quite good. And there was a lot of people saying on social media, if Norwich maybe had Angus Gunn in goal in that game, they wouldn't have come away winning it. And you can certainly say that if it wasn't for Kovacevic, Norwich would not have come out as winners in that game. Even though I think he only made 3 or 4 saves in total, all of them absolutely vital given the circumstance in the game. But no, that was really his moment. And only 2 games in as Norwich City's newest keeper, he looks really, really just so composed and controlled in everything he does.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was definitely the game where Vladan Kovacevic introduced himself to Norwich City and everything he had to offer. I said it before, I've said it again. I feel like Angus Gunn was devoid of criticism last year, probably because of his name and probably because of the options we had. I felt like he had quite a poor season in goal, and it was a significant drop-off from the season we got playoffs under David Wagner. And you look at last season, even players like Shane Duffy, who on the whole, I think, didn't actually perform that badly. The one position where we were pants all season, really, was in goal. And they addressed that this summer with a complete revamp of the goalkeeping department, as we've heard them say all summer, really. And to bring in Vladan Kovacevic and for him to have a performance like that, it just shows that Norwich were right to not only get a new goalkeeper, but get a good goalkeeper with his pedigree as well. Because, yeah, I don't think if we had Angus Gunn in goal that either he pulls off the save on the line or maybe even the penalty stop. And if he does save the penalty, there's no way he gets it the way Vladan Kovacevic does. So, no, I think it was a massive statement for him, but also a massive statement for Norwich because, as I said a couple of podcasts ago, ever since I've really been following Norwich, they've always had a decent goalkeeper, whether it's Fraser Forster, John Ruddy, Tim Krul, or Angus Gunn. And the fact that Norwich are renowned for that, with Kovacevic putting in performances like that, hopefully that can continue.
Well, I think we can comfortably say that Big Vlad is already a better goalkeeper for Norwich than Ralph Fairman, Theoklitos, and I'm trying to think of another subpar one. Is he better than Michael McGovern? No, you've got a long way to go in order to be a bigger legend than Michael McGovern.
Is he a better goalkeeper though than Norwich's player of the season that never was, Carlo Nash?
Yes. I don't know how many cups of tea Carlo made that season, but yeah, the boots have never been cleaner.
Robbed of the player of the season award.
Absolutely robbed. Snodgrass did not deserve that. Anyway, yes, no. Obviously, like the 2 sort of big moments, the save on the line and the penalty save, they are his crowning moments. But I think there was definitely, when we were under the cosh in that second half, he was coming to, grab balls out of the air. He was confident. He wasn't afraid to get right in amongst it. Yeah, and I think for one of the players who has no experience in English football, I think we all kind of said that these, the players that have come in this summer, they're going to need time to adapt. They're going to need time to bed in, and they're going to maybe struggle with their confidence. This is a huge confidence booster for him. This doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to go on and be fantastic for the rest of the season, but it's a good start, and it will keep all of the critics quiet for some time. Because even against Millwall, where, yes, he concedes only 2, there were question marks about his decision making then. But yeah, a really good individual performance from him. And yeah, just, he just looks so happy, so smiley, but he also just looks a little bit crazy. But I think if you have a goalkeeper that isn't slightly insane, then then you haven't really got a good shot stopper. I will also add, in terms of the Watford game, Grimshaw in goal. I think he had a good game on the whole, and it was disappointing that he conceded the goal at his near post. But definitely a better backup goalkeeper than GL, as we'll call him, because I'm bored of mentioning his name. Hi, George. I met.
No, both goalkeepers ended up being all right, but Kovacevic definitely is going to get a lot more plaudits. And like you mentioned about criticism, there was a lot actually when Norwich first signed him. There was, I saw countless YouTube compilations of mistakes made by him and clips that Norwich fans were putting up of mistakes by him, and sort of already deciding that he was a worse goalkeeper than what Norwich already had. But no, I think he's silenced a lot of critics now, so hopefully the praise is just as loud as the disrespect that he was getting sort of around 2 months ago when he was announced as a Norwich player. But we'll go on to the next just starlet of the last week for Norwich. You can't not talk about Papa Diaro. We have to wax lyrical about this Senegalese kid. He's been absolutely brilliant. So good, the notorious B.I.G. did a song about him before he was even born, because he knew Big Papa was going to be excellent before he even came out of the womb, and then ended up on the football pitch in yellow and green. But yeah, he was phenomenal, especially against Watford. 2 assists against the team who could have had him, but they didn't, because he always wanted Norwich, in his own words. And he's backing up his chat, because he was phenomenal in that game. Was a real live wire, and much like against Portsmouth, like Jack said a few moments ago, when he was subbed off, he collapsed on the pitch because he gave everything. It reminds me of the Jose Mourinho quote after Inter Milan beat Barcelona about the sprinklers being on there to clean the blood off the pitch. I think at Portsmouth, they had to clean Diallo's blood, sweat and everything off that pitch, because he gave everything. Wasn't as impactful perhaps as he was against Watford, but there was a lot of really good moments. There was that first time volley after the ball pinged up about 40 metres in the air and he just knocked it into the penalty area. There was another one, I can't remember who played the long ball, but looked overhit. Diaro just went to the line. He just brought it down effortlessly, and then he played outside of the boot pass to Sargent, who ended up getting wiped out. But no, Diaro looks fantastic, and realistically, given the performances of Jeffrey Schlupp, I think Diaro has nailed down really that sort of hybrid left wing back role, depending when Norwich have and don't have the ball. But he looks a real coup by Liam Manning, and we can all be very glad at this moment in time he didn't choose to sign for Watford.
Yeah, for sure. He's been praised a lot this week, and rightly so. Against Watford, the team who he almost joined, for him to get 2 assists is a massive statement. And then to follow that up with a good performance against Portsmouth as well. He is, he looks a really good player, and credit goes to Ben Napper. Freddie, I think you might have to play that tune again when we come to talking about Ben Napper.
Oh, well, this is the thing, we get copyrighted. And we don't, we lose monetization. So
just imagine a song by Sade. Just imagine the one. It rhymes with Hoove Ploperator.
Oh God!
Go and listen on Spotify after you've listened to the MyFootballWriter podcast on Spotify. But yes, we want to retain some of our money. Please don't demonetize us, YouTube gods. But yes, continue.
Yeah. So yeah, that was it basically. He deserves all the praise he should get, and yeah, it's sort of similar to what I was saying on another podcast. It just seems that Norwich just generate good wingers. You know, again, sort of similar to the goalkeepers. Norwich have always had decent wingers, it seems, and the fact that yes, it was a massive loss losing Borja Sainz. The fact that instantly Papa Diallo's come in and has hit the ground running. Again, you can only take positives from that. So fair play to him.
And I think, especially from the Watford game, it was clear very early in that match that he was very much up for it. And I think even when he wasn't on the ball, watching him tactically in terms of the amount of space that he was trying to find, it is interesting, the idea of him playing at kind of that left wing back position, because the amount of pace and danger that he could pose for fullbacks, if he drags them out wide, that then creates a big kind of channel between fullback and centre back for one of those kind of number 10s or someone in behind Sargent to kind of slot in and create chances. Didn't perhaps work with Cernats as well as we would have liked against Portsmouth. I think the opportunity was there for him to utilise that space, but again, that's something that the players will work on. In terms of nailing down that left wing back position, it's interesting because obviously, Stacey will likely play on the opposite side, and he is a right back. I think there will probably be games this season where on the left-hand side, the defensive side will be questioned. And it's almost like, Ben Cresceni had a really good game against Watford at that kind of, he was left back when we played a back four. Is there a world where we could play sort of a three centre backs, Cresceni as the left wing back, and Diallo as one of the kind of number 10s? I don't know if that would be too central for him, and if that wouldn't let him kind of be as pacey and magical as we would like, but maybe that is an option. I think ultimately, if there are question marks over the defence, he's not a defender, is he? I'll tell you what he is. He's a Sadio Mané regen, and I am here for it. I think it is also just the fact of how confident he was in terms of getting the ball and cutting inside and creating chances, and not just kind of running into the box and waiting for a foul that never comes. Freddie on Canary Call kind of compared him to another winger that we got rid of this summer. That it's refreshing for a winger to actually be looking for a striker. Even early doors, Papa, he knows where the goals are. He knows where to deliver the ball. The more he can do that, the better. But when he gets his first goal, Carrow Road or whatever stadium, the Hawthorns, Portman Road is going to go bananas. I'm allowed to say the stadium. I'm not saying the club. Don't quote me.
Right, no, we won't just yet. No, you're safe for now. But I think we go on to sort of the pinnacle of these Norwich performances, rather, and you can't not talk about that ginger curly-haired man up front, because he's doing what he's always done at this football club. He's scoring goals. It's 3 goals in 3 for Josh Sargent. Norwich have scored, what is it now? 5 goals in all competitions, and he has 3 of them. So, no, it's just, we all know he's ridiculous, and we all know the interest that's been around him and perhaps has died down as of late. But if it's it's weird, it's like, well, it's a two-sided coin right now, because it shows how important he is to this team and his goal scoring capabilities, how much that Norwich not exactly are perhaps reliant on Josh Sargent's goals, but how important they are to the team and results. And then, but is it on the other side of things of, are Norwich thinking, a couple more million on the price tag, we'll take that, we'll get our money up. Transfer window closes, I think, in 2 weeks. So, there's two different sort of viewpoints you can have on it. Rather, is it more money that Norwich can try and get for Josh Sargent? We know that there was a bid from Wolfsburg of around £21 million that Norwich actually rejected because they wanted more money, and they are firm on that belief that they can get. Believe it's around 25 million they want for Josh Sargent. But at the same time, with all the goals he's scoring and how he's really unlike, a certain player who Norwich got rid of in the summer, his attitude around transfer speculation has just been amazing. He's cracked on, and he keeps doing what he does for this team, and he's the captain as well. That's how important he is. But I think, of course, we always can credit his goals and performances. I think you have to admire his professionalism during this summer period as well, because he's just cracked on and he's played for this team, and it still means a hell of a lot to him. You see it in his celebrations after goals, and even when he's leading the team and applauding the fans after games.
Yeah, definitely. And I wouldn't surprise me if Sargent does leave between now and the end of the transfer window. I don't think he's fallen in love with the city as others have, and like it's a fairy tale story. But what he does enjoy is scoring goals at this level, and he knows that at Norwich he's comfortable. He's always going to get himself in the position to score goals. So for him, it's a risk. Do you go and seek that move and risk having to, maybe have that sort of ability to prove yourself again, or do you stay at Norwich and try and just score a goal every single game, it seems, and try and get yourself back into that World Cup squad for the all-important home tournament for the USA? It's a really difficult one for Josh Sargent, I think. Don't get me wrong, the longer it goes on with Sargent still here, I think he probably will stay, and that will be absolutely huge for Norwich. I think, we've all said he is the best striker in the league. I don't think that's an opinion. I think that's a fact based on his numbers for the past couple of seasons, ever since Teemu Pukki left, really. He's definitely formed into one of the best strikers Norwich have had in the Championship in recent years. But I think it is difficult to keep someone like that. But for Norwich, it could be maybe a win-win, because as you said there, his transfer value will keep creeping up, the amount of goals he's scored. And if they can get an offer that they deem acceptable and Josh Sargent wants to go, then they could get good money to try and recuperate that. But if that doesn't happen and he does stay, then Norwich got the best striker in the league and have given themselves such a good chance of breaking into that top six. So I think in terms of a business side of it, at the minute, it doesn't seem like the club can do no wrong. But of course, if the club, even if an offer does come in that they deem acceptable and everyone can see why they've accepted it, and they do, and he does leave, they will also have questions to ask about how they're going to replace those goals. I personally don't think they would replace him if he was to leave this window. You're looking at players like Visgarden. He probably joined knowing that there was a chance that Sargent could leave and that he'd be the lone striker, say like Antti Sienats as well. He might want to claim that number 9 position for himself. So I'm not actually sure Norwich would probably replace him if he was to leave. But yeah, I think it's a difficult one. Of course, we know of 2 teams that have come in for him, and they're Wolfsburg and Burnley. Norwich, I think, actually probably did accept a bid from Wolfsburg, but it was Josh Sargent himself who turned it down, not wanting to go back to the Bundesliga. And Burnley, their offer wasn't up to scratch, and it looks like they've probably gone elsewhere now with the signing of Broha from Chelsea. But yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens with Josh Sargent. I'm slowly getting more and more confident that he will stay at least until January. But I think, whisper it quietly, but Josh Sargent could remain a Norwich City player.
Interesting. Yeah. Every now and then I think of a world where Josh Sargent isn't playing up front for Norwich, and it frightens the life out of me. Like I alluded to earlier, just the fact that the performance levels in those two games dropped significantly when he went off. Cernats, bless him, is he that number 9? Don't know. Chris Gordon, is he going to be championship quality? He could be, but probably in a few weeks, if not months' time. If you're Josh Sargent and you've got 3 in 3, is there a part of you that kind of weirdly thinks, okay, well, if I stay, I'm definitely going to bag 25 to 30 goals in the championship. That could lead the team to the playoffs. If I pushed to 30 plus, that could maybe push us into the top 2. Maybe he does believe exactly the same project that Napa has been selling to all of these other acquisitions that have come in the summer. But earlier this week it resurfaced. There was a tweet from David Wagner exactly 3 years ago when he was talking about whether Hugel would feature for Norwich. Was it Wagner or was it Dean Smith? I can't remember. Oh, it's Dean Smith. My favourite. I lose track of time. I'm old. But yes, and the amount of Norwich fans that were absolutely gobsmacked that we would play Josh Sargent over Jordan Hugel. Like, oh, how could we do that? It's so funny how things can change in 3 years. But Henry, you're saying about £25 million being a good fee. I mean, them lot have just sold like a C plus quality forward to Nottingham Forest for 40 million. If if that is the going rate for championship attacking players, we can get at least 50 to 60 for Josh. We won't, but that'd be nice. And then if we did get 50 to 60, we'd definitely be able to find a nice replacement. But if any of you were listening to Canary Call this evening, or not Canary Call, the scrimmage with our dear friend Henry Miller, there were lots of suggestions of ways that we could coax Josh to stay in Norfolk, and lots of people suggesting that he goes to visit Great Yarmouth. Yeah. I don't agree personally. I think if we want to keep him, I think we build a wall around Great Yarmouth so that he actively can't go there. But yes, give him the keys to a nice town on the coast. Give him the keys to Blakeney. Make him the mayor of Blakeney. That would be nice.
I think what we should do, and I don't know why this has become a trend in the Norwich City sphere all of a sudden, but I saw earlier on today that Sanders coaches have named 2 of their coaches after Michael Wynne-Jones and Delia Smith, and they've even got custom number plates named after the 2 of them. And they were on the road taking fans to Portsmouth at the weekend. So that's Michael Wynne-Jones, Delia Smith, and Lauren Hemp, who have all got a bus named after them in the space of a week. So if that's the done thing now, get a bus named after Josh Sargent.
Welcome in Norfolk, everyone.
That will definitely entice him to stay. 100%. It'd have a bus named after him. What other club would he get a bus named after?
That's a very good question, actually. No, that's makes you think.
Add a little, not a life-size one, but add a statue of Josh Sargent to the Go-Go Safari Trail as well.
Oh God! Oh God! Oh dear! Yeah, we don't have to spout some nonsense, do we? Let's name players. What Norwich player would you name after a bus? Or who would you name? Yeah, let us know. Please let us know who you would name. You would name a bus after, or who would you put in the dinosaur adventure park in wherever it is in Norfolk? You could do a dinosaur. You could do the Gingersaurus if you really wanted to. If you wanted to name it after Sargent, but no, let's try and get a bit back on track after that tangent. Let's actually go on to the Norwich women. Henry Miller is, of course, MFW's women's team expert for Norwich City. They began their season, their second full one under the management of Andy Cook. They started it off very well. They won 4-0 against Actonians in their first league game. I believe there was 3 different goal scorers for them, and Henry will, of course, he'll know a lot more than I do about the game because he specialises in this stuff. But Norwich off to the perfect start, really, once again in their new season.
They are indeed, yeah, and it was in fact 4 different goal scorers, 2 new signings as well. So Ellie Bishop opened the scoring for Norwich, and then familiar faces Holly Kennard and Natasha Snelling got the next 2 goals to make it 3-0. And then in added time, new centre back Grace Wrigler scored a penalty to put the icing on the cherry on the cake, and have a brilliant winning start against Actonians in the FA Women's National League Division 1 South East. And we know Norwich, they're really putting everything they can do into going for promotion this year. The last 2 years, they've finished second and fallen just short. Well, this year, if they were to finish second, they might just get a reprieve, because with the changes going on in the Women's Super League, if you're not familiar, next season it's increased to 14 teams from 12 teams. Because of that, the restructuring means that if Norwich were to finish second this season, they would enter a playoff with the team from the Division 1 Southwest. So there is that extra chance of promotion, but Norwich not resting on their laurels. They've obviously gone somewhat professional, signing a few players up on professional contracts. One of those players is Grace Wrigler, who has also dislodged the main centre-back partnership of Kerry Fly and Hope Strauss. You might recall on multiple podcasts last season, I was saying about Hope Strauss's penalty record. Yes, she was a centre-back, but she took penalties for Norwich as well. So to see that Grace Wrigler scored a penalty, yeah, that could be bad news for that Fly and Strauss partnership. But, you know, when you can entice players to the club like Wrigler, who has second-tier experience with Blackburn Rovers, then you have to jump at that opportunity. And looking at the opponents as well, Actonians, they're a somewhat decent side in the Women's National League Division 1 South East. They're a side who Norwich probably are better than on paper. Well, to be honest, Norwich probably better than the whole league on paper. But they have proved Norwich difficult opponents the last couple of seasons. So to get a massive statement win of 4-0 against Actonians on the opening day is a brilliant start. So, yeah, hopefully it can continue. And Norwich are actually in action. Tonight they're playing against Peterborough United in the League Cup. So hopefully they got on really well.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. No, it could be the perfect start really for them. And just as the men's side are really starting to pick up and getting their results to, you know, get to good heights and really crack on and go on to achieve hopefully some really good things. As Henry mentioned, 2 seasons in a row finishing second. I believe 2 seasons ago it was second, and they only lost 1 game the entire season. So perhaps it's amazing that Norwich women's team haven't been promoted yet out of their division. But looks like that if they can continue as they have began and they go on as they mean to go on, they'll be in for some very good times. And so could the men's team. But after we delved into some nonsense about naming players after buses, let's get on to some more absolute nonsense. If you're new around here and you don't know what this is all about, this is where we go to Jack Wright and his quickfire hot takes. He brings us 5 questions every week. Used to be 10 when we started out doing this about 13 or 14 months ago, but he cracked down and he went with just the 5. But still, we delve into just complete nonsense, and I'll let him take it from here.
Right. You know what? because last podcast I did some pre-season predictions with Henry, and I think it was William as well. But Frederick, you weren't here, so I'll start off with just quickfire hot takes for you and you alone, and then we'll move on to 5 new ones for both of you. So you will have heard these because you watched the last podcast. So it's kind of cheating, but here we go. Frederick, will Sargent stay?
Yes.
Who will finish as the top scorer?
Josh Sargent.
Okay. Who will be the breakthrough young player?
Papa Diaro.
I guess that sort of counts. Most impactful signing?
Papa Diaro.
Okay. Most improved player?
Jose Cordoba.
And most overhyped player?
Ante Ciernats.
Ooh, but you love the chant about him.
Yeah, I do, but I feel he needs to, it's such a weird one with Ante because I had the period of not liking him at all. Then I was backing him for a bit. And now I feel like it's a dangerous cycle with this man. If he needs to, if he cracks on soon, brilliant. If he doesn't, he's in a bit of jeopardy, given the money we spent on him as well. Don't forget, he cost us nearly £10 million.
Yeah, and there's been significant delays on the anti-Ciernats hype train. Leaves the station, then comes back, then leaves, then comes back.
Yeah.
You don't know what's happening.
He's getting warmed up for the travel news. Don't worry.
I am.
Everyone, please do listen to Radio Norfolk. I want to know what's happening eastbound on the A47 tomorrow. Okay, 5 new quickfire hot takes, and I genuinely want quickfire this time. We're not having, any deliberations or anything. What is your least favourite recurring chant from the Norwich fans? What is the one chant that keeps on being sung and you're just like,
The only one that I probably got bored of when I went regularly to away games was the "We've got O'Neill" chant. I love Gary O'Neill as a player, but that chant was sung to death.
Bloody hell, this is a really good question because I like a lot of the songs, to be fair. I don't know because I really like all of them. I genuinely might have to pass here because I don't think I can actually give you an answer. I don't know. Maybe Yellows. I know we have to, but it's it's a bit basic, I guess. But I know we have to. That's the thing. I can't really give you an answer because they all make sense.
Yeah, so I like Yellows. It's just simple. It's effective. You can just shout it, and it's great when you shout it and no one shouts it back, and you're
Also,
there just like, "Oh, okay."
Also, what is a Yarmy?
Yeah, my mate Benji, actually, that's hilarious you ask that because at Portsmouth, my friend Benji was with me and Jack. He actually came up to me and was like, what is Yarmy? What does that actually mean? So it's actually very funny you actually ask that because he genuinely didn't know. He had no idea what a Yarmy was.
Yeah, to be fair, it doesn't really make much sense, but there we go. I think it's very fascinating to have gone to the 2 early away games where like new player chants are like being tested, and it was like, oh, Papa Diaro, but now he's getting a new one. I can't remember how the new one goes. So that one kind of stopped a little bit. What was the Harry darling? I mean, come on, like. Man's got to have a new chant. You all know how great I am at creating chants. So, and no one's picked up on any of them. So I'm really disappointed. But there we go. This is inspired by the Portsmouth game, and I know what Freddie's answer is going to be. Which Norwich player of all time has got the best first touch?
Emi Buendia.
Oh.
Where's Houlihan?
No, I'm going to say Papa Diallo. Best first touch of all time, and he's been here like 3 weeks.
Huge statement.
That's silly.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely silly.
I just remember that ball that long ball that he took down, and it was yeah, it was doing.
Watch Wes Houlihan's goal against Rotherham in that 16-17 season.
It probably is Emmy or Wesy. I'm just trying to be controversial. I'm sorry. This is related to what we talked about earlier. What is an acceptable fee for Sargent at a minimum?
£25 million.
Yeah, 25, 30 million pounds, I think. Realistically, we'd have to accept something like that.
I think 25 would be nice. I couldn't accept anything less than 20. If it was like, even if it was like 18 or 19, I'd still be like, oh no, not that it makes much difference.
But then again, you have transfer fees and then you have transfer fees. So say, for example, you look at Isak. I think Newcastle turned down a bid of 110 million. Now, that's insane money. Is Isak worth that? Probably yes. But to Newcastle, he's worth more than that. And to Norwich, I guarantee you Josh Sargent is worth probably a lot more than £25 million. So it's difficult because as a player, yes, he probably is worth that amount of money. But in terms of his value to the actual club, then I can get why Norwich are holding out for more.
Remember, guys, Ben Napper said we don't have to sell. So we'll see. What is your go-to pie flavour on the concourse?
Just steak. Basic. Does the job well.
Yeah, steak and kidney for me. Although I do like the chicken balti every once in a while, but I consider that more of a treat.
It's got to be balti. It's got to be balti. When it isn't like, filled with lava, But what was my last one? Oh, it's quite long. Hang on. Oh, this is for anyone who doesn't understand. It's an Alan Partridge reference, but it still works. If you were to spend the bank holiday with one Norwich legend, who would you pick and what would you do?
Okay. Oh, so I get 3 days with this Norwich player. You know what? I'd go with Mirko Topic and I'd go to the gym with him every day just to see what he does to get those biceps the size of my head. I would love to know what he does in the gym because he's a freak of nature. It's the thing, because when he stands, when you look at pictures of him on the pitch, when he isn't tensing or flexing a muscle, he doesn't look that big at all. He looks just like the average bloke, just like build wise. There's nothing there that strikes you as big Serbian behemoth who would kill you just by looking at you. But then he flexes his muscles or he tenses, or like there's the picture of Darlings running off celebrating and Topic is just like screaming, and every vein in his body is just popping, and he looks like this male fitness model. He looks like he's been carved by the Greek gods, and it's just not. I'd love to just go to the gym and see what he's all about, because he needs to put people on that, because he's built like a statue. He's just amazing.
So I'd spend the bank holiday with Grant Holt. I'd spend 12 hours each day delicately kissing his forehead.
Oh no, you said. Sorry, you did say Norwich legend, didn't you? I've just given you a player. I've not even given you a legend. I've just given you Mirko.
He is a legend already.
Well, I'll answer it again in a minute.
And then I'll spend the rest of the time indulging in his favourite pastimes as well. Whether that's wrestling, I could have a wrestling match, me and Grant Holt, great tag team, or whether that's having trials for Diaro. Don't even think I'd get into Diaro Town at all, but why not? Let's go for it and see what happens.
Well, I don't know. I'd either go on a pub crawl in Dublin with Shane Duffy, and that would be, by the end of 3 days, that would be the end of my life. I don't think I'd be able to, walk after that. And either that, or I'd go on a road trip around all the beaches in Norfolk with Onel, because I know you've got time. I know you're not up to much, Onel. He's a legend. He is a legend. He's got a tattoo. It's fine. Fred, if you were to swap Toppage for a legend, you'd be allowed. Who would you pick?
It's a great question. You know what? I would spend it with Darren Huckabee. And because he always seems to give his wife stick on Twitter for her cooking, I just want to spend 3 days with him, just eat some dinner with him, just see if it is actually like, is it as bad as he always makes out? You know, I feel like Mrs. Huckabee probably gets a lot of stick for her cooking. It always looks lovely. So no, I'd spend some days with Darren Huckabee and, you know, just have some nice roast dinners or something. I'm sure Mrs. Huckabee cooks up an absolute storm.
We love you, Mrs. Hucks. So yes, that's your 5. That's your quickfire hot takes. 5 more next week.
Nah, make sure you tune in. You know, who knows what will be on the quickfire hot takes. But that's the lot for this week here on the MFW podcast on YouTube or Spotify. A big thank you once again to our sponsors, the Fat Cat and Canary, for helping us bring this all to you. Hopefully we can bring it to you from there one day. You know, just keep your eyes peeled perhaps, and we'll see what happens with all of that stuff. But it's goodbye for now. We'll see you on Spotify for the next podcast. We'll see you on YouTube for the next video.